Friends, after the flood of Noah, the righteous kingship of Yahweh God began with Noah's pious son Shem, the King Bharat of India. God's communication with Abraham and Moses on the latter times was the continuation of the same. One can see how the genealogy of Shem, the King Bharat of India, extends to Abraham. Now, while Abraham and the high priests of the Mosaic times offered sacrifices to God without any inhibitions, the Vedic sacrifices were heavily relying on the intoxication of consuming the soma juice in order to perform their sacrifices. I always wondered if it was a perversion that crept into the Indian religion on a later stage, just like the Ashwamedha Yagna, which is the sacrifice of a horse. I say this because Noah's son Shem, the King Bharat of India, knew exactly what God wanted. More than his father Noah, he was madly in love with this God, whom he called out Narayana all the time because the word Narayana meant the one who rested upon the waters, which is Yahweh. He knew the deeper things of God's plan. He even knew exactly how God was going to put an end to human sins. That's why he says in Samaveda that Prajapati is the ruler of people. He will offer his body as a sacrifice for his people, for the remission of their sins. Then, what really led to this debauchery in the Vedic sacrifices? Now, we have to step back and look at the history a little bit. Noah's Ark landed on Mount Ararat in Turkey. Shem and his people traveled from there to the region of India. On the way, they had gotten used to drinking the intoxicating juice of the soma plant, which grew naturally in those regions. However, the soma doesn't grow in India. Probably they even craved for it. That's when the biblical Kush, known as Kashyapa, his son Rama, and his people such as Krishna and Vishwamitra moved into India from the city of Kish in Mesopotamia. When it comes to faith, they were dead against Noah's God Yahweh because their progenitor Ham the Kamdev had fallen out with Noah and his God Yahweh, as we read in the Bible. If you study Rig Veda, you will find out that Vishwamitra was the one who helped the Bharatas, that is the descendants of Shem, cross the rivers Vipas and Sutudri with his magical powers in order to collect soma plant and get drunk. And again, he was the one who released horses to pick fight with the neighbors to attain more territories. And he also sacrificed horses, while Yahweh God was very much against the use of horses and much less killing them. Not only that, Vishwamitra had sideswiped the original spiritual counselor of Shem's people, namely Vasishtha, and perverted God's people. He was also the one who finished up King Bharat's family and his legacy, who was known as Raja Harishchandra. Then, when I was browsing through a section of the Rig Veda called Aitriya Brahmana, I came across the following statement. It said that for gaining heaven, a soma sacrifice is indispensable. For the sacred soma juice has preeminently the power of uniting the sacrifice on this earth with the celestial king Soma and make him thus one of his subjects and consequently an associate of the gods and an inhabitant of the celestial world. Wow, what a lie! This is how Vishwamitra turned the children of Shem into lazy drunkards, which the Iranian holy book Avesta laments about. Now, let's see where this idea of drinking before the sacrifice comes from. Do you remember when King Nimrod, the famous son of Kashyapa, known as Shiva, was killed by the water nymph Kali? Ham, his grandfather, mourned his death in Italy in the form of bacchanalia with intoxicating drinks in order to connect with the spirit world. That's where it comes from. In fact, Ham the Kamdev had passed through India into Bactria hardly 50 years prior to the arrival of Vishwamitra, spreading his version of theology throughout the land. Well, in short, drinking soma during sacrifice was a perversion taught by Vishwamitra. And he was the one who wiped out the faith of Yahweh God in the form of Narayana from the ancient land of India. Well, that is it for now, friends. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching.